bound to happen. 15 years after the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, the Clash and an army of punk devotees swore, spat and snarled their way into the history books, challenged social mores, attacked hierarchy. Even better, didn't require you to learn a whole lot of chords. These bands rehashed and reappropriated the music, the dress-ups and the attitude that had made punk so irresistible in the first place. Right in the thick of it was a pair of 15-year-olds from Oakland, California, who formed a band called Sweet Children in 1987. By the early 90s, Sweet Children had become Green Day and were joined by The Offspring, Rancid, NoFX and Bad Religion in heading up a new generation of American punk rockers.
Welcome to paradise.
In 1994 came Dookie, Green Day's debut release on a major label. 13 million albums sold, and Green Day were an oxymoron. Commercially successful punks. Talk about your walking contradictions. Yes, Green Day are proud punks, but they're also proud fathers. Sure, they started as 15-year-olds in a garage, but after 20 years on a major label, this band has its eyes firmly on the prize.
The biggest gig pretty much in the history of punk rock.
And make no mistake, those explosive, chaotic live shows are rehearsed to the last detail.
When you want to be the biggest band, the best band in the world, there's certain rules that just don't apply to you anymore.
Yes, they still act like teenagers and incite rebellion, but they're also very polite. And they like to keep fit. That's Green Day, friends since the 80s despite some almost fatal internal strife in the early 2000s.
You tend to get a little caught up in your own BS.
Hugely successful proponents of a modern punk ethic that is surprisingly multi-dimensional, Green Day are more polished than their 70s heroes ever were. More grounded and a bit more grown up, sort of.
Fuck that.
15-year-old school friends Billy Joe Armstrong and Mike Pritchard formed Sweet Children in 1987 in Rodeo, California. From their earliest gigs, they were showing the kind of energy and dedication that would propel their careers skywards.
Me and Mike, we kind of, our tastes were evolving as kids, you know, because we've known each other since we were 10. And so, you know, we started getting into punk rock around the same time. And, you know, especially in our local scene over at, you know, Gilman Street.
By 1989, drummer John Kiffmeyer, a.k.a. Al Sobranti, had joined Sweet Children. They played around East Bay underground punk venues, notably the all-ages club 924 Gilman Street in industrial Berkeley, just north of San Fran.
Kind of seeing what was going on there, and it just sort of seeing music played in its rawest form, like the rawest form you could possibly see it in. And we were really lucky to be able to be a part of a scene like that.
I wish I could tell you, but the words would come wrong. Oh, if you only knew the way I felt for sure.
Beverly Hills 90210, it was not. Billy Joe and his 5 siblings lost their musician father to cancer when Billy Joe was just 11. Mike Dirnt, formerly Mike Pritchard, was born to a heroin-addicted mother and adopted out. But his adopted parents broke up and he didn't like his new stepdad, so he spent most of his time at Billy's place playing music.
You know, we've always been people that are felt like, you know, we come from the disenfranchised sort of childhood. We always have, and that's been our charm. You know, we've always been a bit self-deprecating at the same time. So if we find people out there that sort of have that sort of same feeling of being disenfranchised, you know, I mean, they won't be happy. You know?
These feelings led to songs about alienation, anxiety, growing up and girls, anything to escape their boredom. The muse could strike any time, any place, and still does.
Anywhere, really. There's no really place in specific, you know, it's sort of, I've like a small tape recorder with me and sort of get, you know, lyrical ideas or music or, you know, I look like a fool sometimes in the supermarket, you know, singing to like a little tape recorder or something, but, you know, whatever works.
The band was signed by local independent label Lookout Records, and in 1989 released their first EP, 1000 Hours, which found an audience in the California hardcore punk scene. Just weeks before its release, they decided on a name change to Green Day as an homage to marijuana.
I'll admit it right now. We have the worst name in rock. It's a fact.
The first Green Day gig, what was the first Green Day gig?
We played with a band called Crim Shrine, another band called Nasal Sex, and a band called Sewer Trout. And it was in Davis, California.
Their first full-length CD emerged in July '91 with the snappy title of 1039 Smoothed-Out Slappy Hours. Billy Joe and Al waited for Mike to graduate before they set out on the first national Green Day tour. Shortly after the CD's release, drummer Sabranti took a temporary leave of absence to go to college. His replacement was a young fella by the name of Trey Cool.
We met Trey when we were about 18, and he happened to be kind of into the same thing also.
Trey had been playing in punk band The Lookout since he was 12. For Green Day, the new combination clicked, and Trey just never left.
I fully promote and love watching Trey be the greatest rock drummer in the world. I concur.
Trey he's pure drummer and way too much energy.
I can count to 4 and repeat. I'm a drummer.
Green Day's second album, Kaplunk, took 5 days to record, cost $1,000 and hit stores in January 1992. Kaplunk would go on to sell more than 50,000 copies, which was big for the indie punk scene. American and European tours followed. As the band's cult status grew, they attracted some major label attention. Realising they'd outgrown Lookout, they signed with Reprise, a subsidiary of Warner Records. Punk fans were quick to call it a sellout, as punk fans will, but Green Day didn't agree and defend themselves on this point to this day.
I don't know. I mean, the thing about us is we're not trying to be anything that we're not. And, it's not about all the bling bling and all that stuff. It's just trying to write songs that are, that transcend past something that's even like hip or stylistically correct or something like that, or just cool or something. It's more about something that's that comes with inside of you and just exercises the demons a little bit and becomes more of a spiritual thing in a lot of ways. You try to just go out and you kind of let it all hang out and put your heart on your sleeve.
Cashed up and ready to roll, Green Day spent most of 1993 writing what would become their watershed recording, Dookie. With the support of Reprise, they had 5 weeks to record instead of just 5 days, and released the album in February 1994. The video for the first single, Longview, was shot in the basement of the house where Green Day were living. Music video channels in the US quickly slammed it into rotation.
In a house with unlocked doors and I'm getting lazy. Bite my lip and close my eyes. Take me away to paradise.
The second single from Dookie, Basket Case, sat at the top of the US modern rock charts for 5 weeks and helped bump up album sales. The song was actually about Armstrong's as-yet undiagnosed panic disorder. The band requested that the video be set in a mental hospital. In 1994, the band took Dookie on the road. But then, in August of that year, joined the Lollapalooza lineup and Woodstock, where that historic mud fight ensued. The final single from Dookie, When I Come Around, stayed at #1 on the modern rock charts for 7 weeks and broke them in territory after territory around the world. Dookie would eventually sell more than 13 million copies worldwide. At the 1994 Grammys, Green Day scored the award for Best Alternative Music Performance. That year, they also played Saturday Night Live.
I think we are at the end of the touring cycle with Dookie, and I think we all look like a little malnourished and a little abused.
Such mainstream recognition for Green Day inevitably got them branded as sellouts again. Armstrong and Cool became fathers in 1995, which didn't exactly help their hardcore image. But Green Day are who they are, and that doesn't change.
Fuck that.
I don't know, I guess we're just still, no matter how you package us, we're just a working class band, you know, and we like to, regardless of what the outcome is going to be, our end result is we want a great career for ourselves, and we just want to keep traveling and playing music and having fun.
October 1995 brought a new album, Insomniac, with cover art by collage artist Winston Smith and songs that have since become Green Day staples. Geek Stink Breath, Brain Stew, Jaded, and Walking Contradiction, which addressed the Catch-22 situation the band found themselves in. Though the album entered the US chart at number 2, sold 2 million copies in the US and went double platinum, none of the singles was as popular as those from Dookie. At this point, Green Day abruptly cancelled a European tour claiming exhaustion and spent the rest of the year resting and writing.
It was really good for us because we let the creative juices flow, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of substance to be juicy about.
The way I write is just, I just sort of let things kind of keep coming out and whatever, even if it's crap, I'll just, put it on a tape recorder and, just kind of, but just to keep staying on that sort of mode, songwriting mode, because, usually like 1 out of 3 songs are really hit hard, and that's sort of what we picked from,
Right.
There's a lot of songs that we thought were gonna, like a song like King for a Day, like we didn't really know how it was gonna turn out. There were so many songs we had no idea how it was gonna turn out.
There's a lot of good songs that didn't make the record because we wanted the record to have be a good ride from start to finish. And we didn't want it to lean too much one direction or the other.
Doesn't suck having a lot of extra songs either.
Yeah, especially good songs,
In October of 1997, Green Day's 5th studio album, Nimrod, was released. The punk was still in there, but the boys were trying some variations on the formula, including ska and acoustic. Critics called it their best yet.
We're a live band, and it's a fun show and stuff, and we like that to come across on our records. And we had a lot of fun recording this record, a lot more than we have in the past, because there's so many new things that we were sort of introducing for us personally. And with that, you can tell that it comes across on the record that it was. That's why I think the record is it's a fun listen.
The first single from Nimrod, Hitching a Ride, got lots of music television airtime and reached number 5 on the modern rock charts.
That song is really proof of just like, the 3 of us sort of bashing it out, and that's sort of what it took for that song. Because we had all these little ideas and stuff like that, and we played it for a long time, and we're like, hey, it would be really cool if we had this sort of break in the song where a violin kind of comes in and...
Mosquito from Hell.
Yeah.
It's a very collaborative song, that
10-foot mosquito.
That one in the writing is a lot like Longview, where every one of us just like squeezed our head as much as we could to rhythmically make it slam.
Nimrod went double platinum, with a lot of credit owing to the success of its massive second single. Though the track didn't make it to number 1 here or in the US, it has gone on to sell 1.7 million copies and is easily the best-known Green Day song ever.
Another turning point, a fork stuck in the road.
Rendered artfully by Billy Joe's vocals and acoustic guitar, Good Riddance, Time of Your Life became the soundtrack for 1 million graduations, weddings and funerals, and featured prominently in the final episode of Seinfeld, which was viewed by 70 million people.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
It was written about, like, right after Dookie came out, I had the song. So I just sort of, kind of kept it around and then just waited for the right time for us, because it would have kind of been inappropriate, for Insomniac, because the record was so full speed ahead, and this time, so we were like, well, what should we do? It was kind of, you know, we really know if that was going to make the record either, you know.
We didn't know if it was going to make the record at all, and we recorded it, and afterwards, like, that sounds so good.
Something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Nimrod's the kind of record that we've been wanting to make for like about, you know, 5 or 6 years or something. We knew that we had sort of, we wanted to get more into like a creative process and, you know, and sort of visualize the music instead of just like listen to it, you know. And so, you know, and it sort of fit perfect for what we were sort of wanted to do, and you know, the time was right.
Nimrod sold less than both Dookie and Insomniac, but it won them some well-deserved respect. And their live shows were getting polished up too, with a Nimrod tour that started late '97, arriving in Australia 4.5 months in.
We did US, Europe, Japan, now we're in Australia, and we're just hitting, you know, we've hit like 90 shows so far, and we're gonna do it all again.
6 shows at the end of this tour or something.
Yes.
Your sympathy will get you left behind.
The entire, up till now, this part of the tour, or this, you may say 80 shows of this tour so far have been, you know, no more than really 2,500 seater clubs, because, you know, like the real fans can actually get the tickets, you know, and the people who buy the records can get there and get the tickets, and it's a little less of an event, more of a show.
Though Green Day had given their all on big American festivals in the past, in '98 they were one of a number of bands that declined to headline Lollapalooza. The festival didn't go ahead.
We don't really buddy up with other bands too well, you know. I got enough of that crap in high school.
I think that the whole thing with, you know, the giant festival touring in the States is sort of died down, because, you know, everything kind of goes in waves. The early 90s, from 90 to 95, it was really popular, you know, to go to these, you know, to Lollapalooza, Woodstock, and things like that. But now I think people sort of are looking for more for intimacy with the band, and, you know, and that's what we're looking for too, is to sort of play. And we come across a lot better in you know, anywhere from, you know, 500 to, you know, 3,000 seat venues.
Yes. And so everyone was asking about the next album, and Green Day were characteristically down to earth about it.
We're just gonna approach it the same way we always have. You know, it's just writing good tunes. You know, because no matter which way you package it, that's what it really matters in the end. You know, we might, you know, try to introduce something new and stuff for us. You know, it's like we're not really trying to make rocket science. We're just sort of wanting to write good songs and be a good band.
After the break, Green Day, still going strong after more than 10 years together, but the cracks are starting to show.
It wasn't about going to counseling or, you know, or doing anything like that. It's just a matter of asking yourself the difficult questions and looking yourself in the mirror.
Max.
It's been over 10 years since we first met the band known as Green Day, or Green Day. Hailing from the rough and tumble clean streets of Berkeley, these lads rocked their way into the spotlight and our hearts, as well as the spotlight. But what goes on as they continue their struggle towards what some consider music?
By 1998, Green Day had paid their dues in the indie punk scene. They'd signed to a major label, sold tens of millions of albums, and earned a fierce reputation as a live act. Meanwhile, they were quietly building an impressive repertoire of memorable songs.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.
We had no idea what our career was going to be like, or if we were going to have a career when we first started. You know, all we knew is that we wrote some songs that we really enjoyed and we loved, and we knew somewhere that we would enjoy playing these songs when we're older, that they'd make sense.
10 years together and still rock solid is no mean feat.
Well, I don't know. How do we end up staying together? I don't know. Money had a lot to do with it. I'm just kidding.
No, I smoke.
No, I don't know. We just kept writing damn fine fucking records.
Entering the studio to start work on what would become their 6th studio album, the band soon decided they wanted to produce it themselves and waved goodbye to their producer Scott Litt, best known for his work with R.E.M. and Nirvana. With an album's worth of songs in the can by June of 2000, Green Day took off to headline the Vans Warped Tour, helping make it the biggest tour in the history of the festival. And they launched a tongue-in-cheek Billy Joe for President campaign that coincided with the presidential battle being waged by Al Gore and George Bush.
You need a leader with a flair for leadership and the ability to lead. You need Billy Joe Armstrong.
In October of 2000, 3 years after the release of Nimrod, Green Day finally had something new to put in the shops.
The new album is called Warning, and boy, is it ever. Every single song on the record is separated by just a few seconds of silence. How did all of this magic come about?
Warning was a classic pop record, taking the acoustic moments that made Nimrod so memorable and pushing it. But some critics felt they were losing their relevance. Were they going soft? And why were they setting themselves up as political commentators? Not all the tracks on Warning were making a political statement, though. Blood, Sex and Booze was a song about being dominated by a woman. The track needed a whip crack on it, and that was as good an excuse as any to bring in a real dominatrix.
It was a friend of Trey's, and I'm going to let him take this one over.
Well, she beats the crap out of you, kicks you in the nuts, steps on your nipples, slaps you in the face, calls you a bitch, makes you submit, and
flogs you
for money.
And then you pay her like $400.
And it was a good excuse to torture their engineer, Tone, on camera.
He can't sue us, can he? Tone. This is a flogger? Oh my God.
Their tour to support Warning brought Green Day back to Australia, including a fondly remembered performance on Goat Island in Sydney Harbour.
Specifically remember playing in front of Goat Island, and then I remember the big boat that was coming by, and I yelled out,
Get the fuck out of here! Who the hell are you? Move! You're fucking up my view of the bridge!
and I didn't know what boat it was, but it was a specific, like, it's like a, sort of like a Queen Mary kind of boat or something like that. And everybody was laughing hysterically, and but that was, I don't know, that was a really good time.
I believe Trey threw one of his drums at it into the harbor.
Yeah, my drums actually were proven to float in that gig.
But Warning hadn't sold like their previous efforts. Next came a greatest hits compilation called International Super Hits, and an assemblage of B-sides called Shenanigans, which both did pretty well. But was it enough?
No. No.
When in doubt, Green Day go on the road.
We did this co-headlining bill with Blink-182 in America, and that was like, you know, something we really wanted to be great, you know, so we took about 2 years to do, all that stuff that came out, and then after that, we ended up, you know, that's when we really started kind of digging into the new album.
It was a difficult time for the band. There was a suggestion that they weren't hitting the mark with their audience and that their live show was just going through the motions. Internally too, Green Day, now hitting 30, were questioning who they were as a band and where they were heading. It was as close as they'd ever come to a breakup.
I think when you're in the moment like that with maybe a rougher time, or, you know, everyone kind of has their own issues and stuff, you tend to get a little caught up in your own BS. And so what happens is you bring, you know, as a band, we came back together and said, all right, let's get on the same page as a band entirely. And that's really what it is. I mean, it wasn't about going to counseling or, you know, or doing anything like that. It's just a matter of asking yourself the difficult questions and looking yourself in the mirror.
When I was a kid, I thought I wanted all the things that I haven't got.
Same page or not, the pressure was on to record a new album, which they did. Cigarettes and Valentines was its working title. A solid body of work, according to those few who actually heard it.
We recorded a ton of music, like, you know, something like 20 songs. And they were, I think, we were getting ready to mix them. But all the master, like, I guess the master would be the computer, someone had come in and stole it. So we had this entire album, all written, you know, and then done and recorded. And then but instead of like re-recording them, where it's like, you know, maybe this is a sign, maybe we should just like start doing something new.
At this point, we had already shifted gears and we were kind of working towards other things too. And we were like, c'est la vie.
Seeing it as something of a blessing in disguise, the band started over with a vow to be even more ambitious.
It started off with having band practices, and we came back and we started getting back into band practice down in Billy's basement and stuff. And after, you know, literally after 2 or 3 weeks, we were just like, this sucks. We know how to have band practice. This is not how we want to approach making a record. I mean, even to the point where Billy called me at one point and was like, do you even want to do this anymore?
American Idiot was sort of a whole new, let's take on the planet sort of vibe. You should do it at least once in your lifetime.
Around March of last year, I think I wrote the song American Idiot. And it was just sort of by far better than the other stuff that we've been writing. And then at another point, you know, so we really felt like we had to sort of live up to that expectation of that song. And then Mike wrote this like 30-second song just for fun, and as we all left the studio, and then it was just like a fun little song. It sounded like kind of like vaudeville or something. And then I said I want to do the 30-second song. So I did one and I attached it to his, and then Trey did one and he attached it to mine, then Mike did one, and I did, and kept so on and so on. And it kind of started sounding like this sort of like rock opera, you know, and which is silly to sort of think about because, you know, this day and age it seems so like, I don't know, impossible to do something like that. But you know, but as this arc started happening, it kept getting more and more serious, and we were laughing and we're like, wow, this is great, and we were kind of wowing ourselves, and I don't know, so it was like, this is what we should be doing. Instead of just trying to write a record with just a bunch of single songs on it, let's try to, you know, let's up the ante, not only for ourselves, but for, you know, rock and roll music in general.
2004's American Idiot was Green Day back with a vengeance, doubts cast aside. The album came to life as an aggressive rock opera telling the story of a character called Jesus of Suburbia. Two of the tracks, Jesus of Suburbia and Homecoming, are multi-movement suites of more than 9 minutes duration.
Yeah, and everyone's reaction was just like, oh my fucking God, you guys are outdoing yourselves, you know? And we took it on as like the most ambitious thing that we were ever going to do, and now, like, looking back, like, we just sort of finished it. It's kind of wild.
Their most political album to that point, it was the band's conscious decision to use the respect they'd gained over 16 years to agitate for change. This was, they believed, part of the band's natural evolution.
For me, it was like a lot of the lyrics were kind of becoming more internal, and I think with this record was just trying to kind of push it outwards a little bit more, you know. So it was a big rock and roll enema.
It's been really gratifying to play live too, because this album was written from such a live perspective. Like, we wanted to be on stage playing, you know, making things sound as big and as huge as possible. You know, air drums, air guitar in our head. You know, just keeping that in mind.
The first single from the album really packed a wallop.
The song American Idiot sort of just came about without thinking about any repercussions whatsoever. And just sort of the confusion that's going on in sort of American pop culture. And I think that the administration that's in office right now, I have a problem with, I don't agree with. It doesn't represent me. I'm just trying to raise a discussion to where I just try to make some sense of it.
It's sort of about us too. It's not necessarily we're pointing fingers at anybody, but you know, because I don't have enough fingers. So, but it's like, but you have to sort of look at, like, you know, it's anything that's like from reality television to sort of the non-news of like Fox and CNN, to the ticker at the bottom, to you know whatever Fear Factor, to the Michael Jackson trial or whatever. You know, it's sort of, you just go, and then the commercials in between and how strategically placed they are. You just get sort of sucked into all this stuff, and it just sort of leaves you really confused. You're just confused by everything that's coming at you, but still completely addicted to it at the same time. So while this addiction is going on, suddenly there's this war that's going on. That and it's like, so before you know it, you're just like, you really sort of felt like you sort of lost your individualism and control itself, you know. We're definitely going to catch some heat in America for making this kind of record, and but I don't know. I mean, it's like, I'm not into sort of trying to protect my career or anything like that. This album is a really bold statement, and I just wish more people were making those kind of statements. You know?
The impact of American Idiot was heightened by some standout video clips directed by Sam Bayer, the man responsible for Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit video.
It's going to be huge.
Bayer agreed to come out of video directing retirement to shoot these with the band.
I did this because these guys played the record for me. Like, I met them and they played the record, and man, it blew me away. This made me want to come back into doing music videos. I don't think there's too many bands out there that are like this, and I think this record's going to be huge. Monstrous. I'm thrilled to be a part of it.
Stay tuned. We're going to have a good time. You're going to get wet with us. You're going to probably lose some camera equipment in the process. But we're spending a lot of money on this video, so we'll buy you a new camera. There you go. Good kid. You're a good kid.
American Idiot was the first Green Day album ever to peak at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart and around the world, including Australia, where it's gone 6 times platinum.
I'm walking down the line that divides me somewhere in my mind, on the borderline of the edge and where...
Boulevard of Broken Dreams was incredibly successful too. The single spent 16 weeks on the top of Billboard's modern rock chart and won the Grammy Award for Record of the Year. Green Day were nominated for 7 Grammys in 2004. It was easily the best received album of their career.
You know, it's been a crazy year for us, so it's all been great.
As far as the accolades for it or anything, I mean, it was great that it went #1 all over the world. But we were figuring we'd either hit a home run or we'd fail miserably. So.
If anything, it's like we've taken too long of a period of time in between albums. But all of that was due just because we really wanted to make something that was really special, and we never stopped working hard, ever. I mean, even if the opinion was that it stunk, it was like, we put 100% in that thing that stunk,
After some tough years, some self-doubt, it was time for Green Day to sit back and enjoy their accomplishments.
Summer has come and passed, the innocent can never last. Wake me up when September ends. Like my father.
At this point in our career, is like you sort of look at it. A career is kind of up and down. It's a roller coaster, and it seemed to a point where we were kind of just, we had like our base set of fans, and we were just trying to write music with a lot of integrity, and keeping those fans to mind and at heart. So when it actually ended up kind of branching outside, and then then younger people end up getting into it, and older people too, it was just I don't know. It's just, I don't even, we're still trying to figure it out, you know, so.
Wake me up when September ends.
Definitely nice to be recognized by your peers and everything, but to the same degree, the day we finished this record, we all sat down and said, look, this is how we feel about this record. You know, regardless of accolades or people slagging us or anything, it's like we don't read the press and all that stuff for a reason, because we believe in this record, like Trey said. And, you know, we believe in the power of this record and rock and roll and what we do as a band. And I think the way we felt the day we finished this record is the way we will continue to feel about this. Within this record, you know, we've learned a lot about ourselves. We learned a lot about where we want to be as a band and where we want to be as men and as individuals in our future. And upon doing so, I think we enjoy every day just a little bit more than we did maybe a couple years ago.
All right! Lots more career highlights follow. Appearances at award shows, Live 8. But for Green Day, it always comes back to one thing.
It's been able to be out on the road touring this record. This album it was written from day one for a live perspective, and it's turned out to be one hell of a show. And I think that's really the main highlight. I mean, you know, the reception from it, everybody really being into it, you know, the Grammys, all that stuff's cool, but being on stage for 2 hours is much cooler.
The song is not anti-American, it's anti-war.
Hardest working band in rock ever.
With a tour schedule of 150 dates, including Japan, Australia, South America and the UK, with a host of extra players on stage, and 2 nights at Milton Keynes Stadium, where they played to 65,000 people a night, Green Day finally knew they'd stepped up as a band.
Going to a song like Longview, and you look into the crowd, and as many people know it, there's a lot of new faces that are kind of like, what's this? And that was the point where I knew that we had gotten out of that shadow of Dookie entirely. We're a whole nother place, you know, and I think at this point Green Day is synonymous with good music.
Voted best show on earth in a Kerrang! Magazine readers poll and documented in a concert DVD called Bullet in a Bible, American Idiot Live was a revelation. They were on fire.
Actually, it feels pretty awesome, though, I gotta say, to feel the heat around you when you're playing, and to feel like one of the greatest feelings is having the crowd sing back so loud that you can't hear your own selves, which is pretty amazing.
I have never put so much emotion into any record than I have into American Idiot, and in every song that's on American Idiot. There are times where I feel like I get choked up, and I feel like I get a frog in my throat, where I feel like it's hard to sing the next line, because even though the record isn't necessarily about me, but everything comes from some emotional place that I've experienced in my life, and it resurfaces every time that you play those songs. You're not just putting it out there, you're performing it, but you're living it at the same time. And then when you see all those people throwing it right back at you at the same time, you know, it's just such an emotional level where it's, you know, it's the whole show is, everybody is almost levitating.
And just how many instruments did they destroy for American Idiot?
One every show. So how many shows have we played? 160. We played 160 gigs.
We're making dreams come true.
The last port of call was Australia in December 2005.
Saved the best for last.
Sometime.
No, I think we're going to try to play, since it's our last shows, to play like extra songs and, you know, to try to make it more special for the people that are here.
Yeah. It was all pretty anticlimactic after that. There was a cover of John Lennon's Working Class Hero, contributed to a charity album, Instant Karma, Billy Joe being a Beatles fan from way back.
Working class hero is something to be.
They appeared in the Simpsons movie and released a version of the theme song, and recorded a whole album of 60s-style rock and roll under the alias of Foxborough Hot Tubs. 1 year after the Hurricane Katrina disaster, Green Day teamed up with U2 and producer Rick Rubin to record a charity version of the song, The Saints Are Coming. But if you're collaborating with Bono, can you really still be punk?
Are we still punk?
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, it's like, I think there's a certain part of us that you know, we always come from there, but when you want to be the biggest band, the best band in the world, there's certain rules that just don't apply to you anymore.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of irony with, you know, us being one of the biggest bands on the planet. You know, who knows, maybe 50 years from now we can just look back and go, haha, we fooled you all. I think people just expect, if you're in a punk rock band, for you to walk in and just, you know, throw the TV out the window immediately and start being a brat or something, but we've already done that, so.
We have to pay for that shit. Oh, watch it, man. It's full close.
The pressure was on, of course, to announce a follow-up to American Idiot.
We're going to take it as it comes. We're not really sure. We don't have any idea when it's going to come out. We'll just end up, you know, we'll kind of go in with sort of the same recipe that we have before, and it's just to kind of, you know, try anything and everything and just try to get something to, that'll be great, you know.
Yes, but would it equal American Idiot?
You know, we kind of thought a lot about that during Dookie, and we started, you know, like I said, you know, one thing we've learned is to stick together because a career is a roller coaster ride. And, I don't know if our next record is going to be as this one, you know. I think it's just a matter of, you know, having like a great stock of songs and, I don't know, and just sticking together and, you know, it's like it just ride the wave with it, you know.
The one thing I could guarantee is that we're going to have a ball making this next record.
Coming up next, it would take almost 5 years for Green Day to release their next album. Would it match the meteor-like impact of American Idiot? Would everyone still be friends? Would Trey Cool ever have a sensible answer to anything?
Shut up.
Max.
After declining sales, a punishing tour schedule, year in, year out, and some friction internally, Green Day were a little worse for wear in 2002, until they pulled themselves together, recovered from the theft of their album, and brought us American Idiot, a smash success both commercially and artistically. It would prove to be a hard act to follow. By all accounts, Green Day had been working on new material since 2006. In October 2007, Billy Joe Armstrong had 45 songs written, he said, but we didn't see any evidence of that until October 2008, when this video was posted on YouTube. It was proof, finally, that Green Day were recording, with Butch Vig, best known for producing Nirvana's Nevermind.
He had like a ton of material, which was probably somewhere around maybe 100 songs or something like that. Butch Vig came in, and then he like was really helpful at like sorting everything out and, you know, giving it like just a good, honest opinion, and he was great to work with, you know.
It was at the 2009 Grammy Awards that Green Day, there to present the Best Album Award, confirmed their new album, 21st Century Breakdown, would be out in May of 2010. All up, that made it a 3-year effort in 4 different studios with an almost 5-year gap following American Idiot, their longest gap to date.
It was a long process of, you know, writing a lot of music, like Billy said, you know, him second-guessing things, and just patience was a really hard thing, you know, because we like to keep going, and moving forward and not look backwards, but it is just, I don't know, we're coming off of the American Idiot tour and everything. I think it was, took a while for our wheels to stop spinning and then get into another mode, and we stayed in that mode for a long time to get this record right.
You know, after American Idiot, we were like, well, what do we do? I mean, we raised the bar higher than we ever have before, and so for us, we just wanted to raise it again. It was like, you know, it's we were arrogant enough to say, let's beat American Idiot, and humbled in the process of doing it, but I think that 21st Century Breakdown's the best album we've ever made, so And I know because it drove me crazy, and it made me really happy at the same time. So it's those are good ingredients for knowing that you're pushing yourself to the absolute limits.
There's a certain solidarity with the band, knowing that everybody pushes themselves really hard, you know, musically, that you can kind of lean on your brothers for that, you know.
The album presented to fans in May was another ambitious punk rock opera with political overtones.
A lot of the songs on the record are, you know, it's about desperate times and a different crisis every week, and you know, and just sort of like just chaos and confusion. And I think a lot of Americans feel that way, you know. It just sort of, no one really knows what the future's going to be. But at the same time, there's this sort of, the juxtaposition of that is that everybody has this sort of new sense of hope. There's a new face and a new administration. And, you know, it's sort of confusing. And I kind of think that that's what the record is about in a lot of ways, you know. And that just kind of played itself out naturally, because it's sort of, the record is about sort of an end of an era and the beginning of one at the same time.
Again, the political flavour seemed to strike a chord. 21st Century Breakdown was an instant commercial success, selling over 215,000 copies in the first 3 days of release, going straight to #1 in 14 different countries. It was Green Day's best chart performance to date, again. But still, through and through, Green Day are a band who live to play live.
I am chomping at the bit to go back on tour right now. You know, it's kind of like, you know, our last show was in, from the last tour was in December of '05 in Australia. And, you know, it's been, you know, nearly 3.5 years, so it's just, it's like, it's telling someone it's like making yourself stop doing something that is your favorite thing in the world to do, which can make you, you know, can kind of, you know, contribute to, you know, the psychotic side of your brain after a while. So
yeah, most bands that don't play a gig for over 3 years broke up. You know, we played our first show last night. Our first Green. It was great. As Green Day, so it was really great. Yeah. 3 hours of fun.
Their 21st Century Breakdown World Tour, starting in the middle of 2009, kept them on their toes, especially the first few shows.
It's always kind of nerve-wracking because, you know, it's like when you're playing a show and everybody knows the material, people are jumping around and going crazy, but a lot of people were just sort of taking in what was going on. And so you just, it's like you have to, I just sat there, closed my eyes and sang every song just to, you know, and then we went back and we played a lot of like past material and stuff like that, so.
These days, Green Day are a franchise unto themselves. They have their own video game, they adapted American Idiot for a Broadway musical, and were even nominated for some 2010 Tony Awards.
Yeah, I have the saying, it's the #1 rule in pool is, it's not what you make, it's what you leave. And I believe that's the #1 rule for life, too. If you're lucky, you can leave something behind that's had a positive impact, and hopefully will be around longer than you. And it's not what you make while you're here, so enough with the bling.
Green Day has now sold over 65 million records worldwide. More than 20 years since their teenage beginnings in Rodeo, California, there's no sign of this trio retiring just yet.
I mean, I'm fairly proud of the fact that, you know, we've honored this gift of rock and roll that we've been bestowed with, you know, and that we do challenge ourselves, and you know, we love rock and roll. We love the history of it. We love new music, old music, and you know, we don't take it for granted. I think it's really, it's a good thing.